social care funding should not be merged with the National Healthcare Service, the Minister has said. And we're going to read into this more from this exclusive for My News, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive for My News with the headline that social care funding should not be merged with the National Healthcare Service, the Minister has said. Helen Whately said she does not think social care funding should be centralised to mirror the NHS, arguing that local authorities know best what people need. Guys, while you're here, before I give my initial thoughts, if you can hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. Social care and NHS do go hand in hand, but we don't want to, in my opinion, merge the two. And I do think there should be a case of funding. The funding should not be the same as it should be with the NHS. In fact, I think it should be separate funding, because social care, as you guys know, I'm sure everyone agrees with me how important it is. It's so fundamentally important that we have it, as of course with our National Healthcare Service. But should they be more merged together? Well, they're kind of already intrusivistic with each other anyway, because of the roles that they have. They're already tied into each other anyway because of what it is, because of social care and because of NHS. Well, the question that we need to ask ourselves, should the funding for social care and NHS should be merged? And my honest answer is I don't think it should. I don't think it should. I think it should be separate. I think it should be separate from the NHS, and we should have a state social care in similar lines with the NHS, not in the way of privatisation, but more public hand, more public control, because our social care is in crisis, and there's not been enough done to look after it, and I don't think it should mirror the National Healthcare Service. Because it's not the same as the NHS. It's different in its own way. And I do think local authorities do know what's best for their people. Of course they do. That's a given, and it shouldn't be something that government should make a decision on. But it should be: are they having those consultations with local authorities and with local governments before making such a huge decision like this? I think it's a question that really needs to be answered here. So let's read a bit more into this, and I'll share my thoughts along, guys. So funding social care should not be taken out of the hands of cash-strapped councils, and there is no quick fix for the struggling sector, a government minister has said. In an interview with the Eye, Helen Whately said she does not think social care funding should be centralised to mirror the NHS, arguing that local authorities know what best care people need. She acknowledges there is a lot of pressure on councils, but said there are no easy answers on funding social care. And that's true. There is no easy answers. We know that we have a problem when it comes to money right now. Everybody's aware of that. But I don't think the solution is merging social care with the NHS. I don't think that's the solution for me. Well, what is the solution then, Regan? Well, we need to raise taxes. And we're started by by dumping a massive tax on the rich for starters. There's lots of ways we can that I believe an incoming Labour government can raise money. We know that they've ruled out a wealth tax, which is complete nonsense, but there are lots of ways that more money can be raised. I don't accept this premise that there's going to be no money when Labour come into power. There is going to be money somewhere, and it's a case about getting off your backside and finding it. Yeah, whether it's from raising taxes here or whether it's recovering money from the PPE scandal. There are lots of places where money can be recovered. So I don't accept this premise that there will be no money when Labour come into power. I don't accept this premise whatsoever. And Ms Whately, who has been responsible for social care intermittently since 2020, said large-scale reforms takes time to make a difference. It comes as the government announced it was allocating 20 million of social care reform funds to boost a scheme that helps adults into the care system to live in the community. Earlier this week, a report by the think tank The King's Fund called for funding reforms due to the rising costs faced by councils when already squeezed budget. Ms Whately told the Eye increasing spending on social care had been a priority, but pushed back against the suggestion that greater reform of funding model was needed. There's a lot of pressure on the funding of social care and a lot of pressure on local authority budgets, with competing needs also more people in need of care, she said. That's one reason why we're putting extra funding into social care, up to 8.6 billion over the year, and next to support that cost. To me, that is a real priority. But is it enough? And that's the question. I don't think it's enough. She added there were no easy answers on the funding of social care, and said governments of all colours and over many years talk about big reforms to the sector, but she's making it a national system like the NHS. But making it a national system like the NHS was not the answer. And this is where I disagree. I do think actually there should be I do think when the NHS was formed, it made a massive difference to people. Putting it in the hands of the state made a massive difference. And for a long time, all the way even up to 2010, 2012, it was one of our best healthcare services in the world. Making it national system helped us. Now, I generally believe that making our social care a national system and having a kind of tax like the NHS, which is our national contribution, that yes, I know some of that tax goes towards social care as well, but I think if you ran it if you used ideas like the NHS, and in making it some kind of a national system, social care, I think it could work in real well in our favour for the benefit of the public. You know, when I see stories about some of the ways that some people are being treated in private social care, and the amount of money that people pay for people to look after people in private social care as well, is extremely, like, we should not be paying so much money when you could do it through a tax instead, and everyone pays that fair share in. Like, why not do it that way? Why should people cough up huge amounts of money to put people in private social care? Like, that's how I'm looking at this. You know, that's how I look at this. And maybe some people will disagree with me, but that's how I'm looking at it right now. She added, I've heard people make all sorts of arguments about let's do social care differently and combine social care with the NHS. Actually, I'm a real supporter of the role local authorities play in social care. Now, I don't agree with combining with the NHS. I don't think that's ideal. They are intermittently linked, but I don't agree with combining them. And a lot of social care is very different from healthcare. It's a lot to do with relationship and supporting people to live their lives independently, very different from what you experience at a hospital. So actually, I'm a real supporter of local authorities who best understand the needs of their communities. The idea that I have for a national social care service works in conjunction, but it's like a massive network, but works within local communities and local governments. That's how it would work. And it would be under one, but it would be all under one branch. Like the National Healthcare Service, I would call it like maybe like the NSC, the National Social Care, something like that. Something like that along those lines is something that I would be in favour of. Challenge on the fact that the Conservative government has had 14 years to improve the sector, she said ambitious reform takes time. I think nobody suggests it was easy, and that's why these long conversations take place. Irrespective of parties and governments, the reforms we are doing are socially right now are really ambitious, but really ambitious reforms take time to make a difference, she said. She cited government plans to improve nationwide regulation of individual care providers as well, making being a carer a more attractive career prospect. The government today announced it was investing 20 million of its accelerating reform fund to expand community care such as the Share Lives service. Share Lives matches people aged 16 and over with appropriate carers to live with either long term or stay for the short breakaways from their permanent homes. The schedule allows adults with care more freedom and independence and prevents them from being in a potentially inappropriate residential care service. Ms Whately announced the funding allocation on a visit to the homes of Shared Lives carer in Oxfordshire. She met with a carer, Sarah, who hosts 3 residents, Jim, Sammy and Ruth, on a temporary basis to give them a holiday, a time away from their usual home. Sarah got involved in the scheme in 2020 after her children moved out, and she had a spare room in her house. She said doing so had expanded her family and has been incredibly rewarding. Erin King, CEO of Share Lives Plus, said he was delighted by the funding. More people who were drawn on by social care needs will have the opportunity to experience the life-changing experiences of living or regularly visiting a loving home in their local community, he said. The fund overall will help support unpaid carers and various local authorities by investing in other schemes as well as Shared Lives. One will see the expansion of digital tools to help carers identify local support. Another in West Yorkshire will use the funding to connect hospitality and leisure businesses with unpaid carers so they can donate and experience holidays and experiences. Helen Walker, Chief Executive of Carers UK, said that the investment was urgently required for unpaid carers who are incredibly stretched and in need of further support to better manage their personal health and well-being, finances, and to juggle work and to caring responsibility. She said, "We hope government will be able to continue to support successful projects locally to ensure that unpaid carers can continue to benefit from effective models and support." Uh, I'm like, unpaid carers. It's like, if you want to do it, that's great, but it's not something we should be pushing more of. People should be rewarded for that, for the work that they put in as a carer. They should be paid for, in my opinion. But I understand we're in a difficult situation, but social care is a hotbed. But I generally do believe in some kind of national social care system that we should have, working in tangent with the National Healthcare Service. Obviously, something like this would be a massive reform and there'd be massive changes, without a shadow of a doubt. But I do think something like this could seriously work if there were a government and a political party willing to put the effort in. It can be done. Yes, social care reforms are needed at the moment, but I think that's something that, as a long-term project, something can be worked into. And I think if everybody was, nobody wants to pay, nobody wants to be paying more for their bills than they need to. But I think if people paid into a tax, that would mean that everybody pays into, that looks after people in society, a social care system that looks after people in society without you having to fork out several £100s for a private social care to look after them. I think that's seriously something that should be considered. Um, Understandably, some people will say not now because people can't afford to pay their bills, and rightfully so. I can understand that argument, but I think that's a conversation that we should be having seriously more of, some kind of national social care system, an NSC system. What do you guys actually think of such an idea? Is that something there? Is there actually Let me know what you guys honestly think about that kind of idea. What do you guys think about the social care system at the moment within England in particular? Should its funding be merged with the NHS? Should be merged with the NHS as one. What do you guys honestly think about that and the situation that is in? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me in the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or you can even join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.